Good evening. Welcome, everybody. This is the start of our new season, and it's going to be an incredible season for you. Um, I'll be the only one starting at first. Eventually, we'll have a Tuesday night session with Father Steve and Father Nektarios. That's coming on a little bit, like I say, in a couple of weeks. And then we'll have Father Paul Sahakis. He and I will be sharing Wednesday night, but he's away. So I'm going to have the first 4 weeks with you, actually the first 5 weeks. And we're going to continue virtually around the year with at least the Wednesday night program. And all this is going to be posted on the internet for everybody to see. And of course, it'll be in the bulletin with the correct information as we move along. Okay, so everybody will have all the information for them. The fifth week is going to be a very special week for at least for me, because I'm excited about this one. I listen to this abbot every day. His name is Abbot Trifon. If you are on the Ancient Faith Network, the radio network, and I highly recommend it. It gives you in like 15 minutes or less, sometimes you get to the scripture of the day, the epistle of the day, commentary by St. John Chrysostom usually, the saint of the day, about 2 minutes on what saint we're praying to that day. And then we get a little what I call a little pep talk, a little bit of reality, let's say, from Abbot Trifon. And I've been planning on doing this for years now. And I finally got the nerve to call him, and he's out in Spokane, Washington, at his monastery out there, and he's agreed to be our first guest speaker. He will be the 5th week of September, okay? So I don't care where you are, you gotta make sure you're gonna tune into that. I mean, we want 100 people in on this one so that they can hear him. This is a great honor, I feel, for us. And he's even offered, once we get past the COVID situation, to come visit us and do some impersonal presentation. So that's what you're set for the month of September. My topic is going to be the creation, okay? And we're going to take the creation, actually, I shouldn't call it the creation, because we're going to talk about God too. And we're going to take God and go through elements of God that I'm pretty sure most of us don't really get into, unless you really get out some books and study on it. Sometimes, unfortunately, through our habits, we take things for granted, we say the Lord's Prayer, things like that, recitation type things, and sometimes we really don't stop to think exactly what we're saying. And so something like this with God and everything, the most important element in our faith, of course, it'll be good. It'll be a good thing. We'll understand the proprieties of God. I'll even have some proofs for the existence of God, and then we'll get into the creation. So today, though, you can see the title is Angels Among Us. Now, that's usually done about the 3rd week of the presentation on the creation. But I promised Joanne Woolley that, we would start with that, because she's been anxious to get that, and I don't even know if she's on now. But so I'm going to go a little bit out of order, all right, still part of the creation. And we'll do the Angels Among Us, and then at the end, or we'll catch up, not at the end, but we'll catch up in the next coming weeks. Next week, I will start with God, right? And then going into the 7-day creation. Okay, and we'll take one day at a time. So that'll complete us through the first 4 weeks. And hey, Laurel. And I was just saying that we will have Abbot Trifon on at the end. So I recommend that you just, on your mobile phones, your laptops, just tap in on your apps, Ancient Faith Network, AFN, and it'll pop up. Download it. It's free. There's no charge on all of this that they do. You will love it. It even plays a whole nonstop music that has a category of just nonstop religious music, which Helen and I listen to quite frequently. So we're going to talk about angels today. I like angels. I'm glad that I took it out of order for Joanne, and because I think it's something that we all can enjoy and understand. it's amazing, the thing on angels, how little we get into it, how little we really know about them. We pray to them all the time. You don't even realize it probably, but we pray to them all the time. In the prayer that we got from our bishop, it says in here, I'm reading it, may Christ our true God, through the intercession of his all pure and all immaculate Holy Mother, the power of the precious and life-giving cross, the protection of the honorable bodiless powers of heaven. Okay, mentioned 2 times. That was the closing prayer. When he does the prayer for the COVID virus, he says, he asks in there, his father, Steve, the prayer says, send your angel to watch over us and protect us. Now, we've been reciting this since March, but did we ever stop to think about that? You know, sending an angel down to watch over us. Doesn't God watch over us? Interesting, just some interesting things, and it goes on, and hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be more inclined and moved to look into some of the aspects of angels. I am going, and it's amazing. I just think it's an amazing coincidence, and I always mention that word coincidence, and then I come back with a qualifier that in the church there are no coincidences. Okay, but today, as I was jogging and listening to Abbot Trifon, who's going to be here, as I said, in the last week. Let me just move on. By the way, that is a Seraphim angel. We're going to talk about the Seraphim angels. There's Abbot Trifon, and that is the app actually that's on that Helen and I listen to every day. And I'm going to play his words for the day. And look what the title is: Angels Unawares. It's about 5 minutes. So.
Angels unawares. While sitting in the Victoria, BC restaurant, Murchie's Sidewalk Cafe, back in June of 2013, with my friend, mitred Archpriest Basil Rhodes, we noticed a homeless man stop behind me. The man was staring at our food, so Father Basil asked him if he was hungry. He answered with an enthusiastic yes. And when Father asked what he'd like to eat, he said eggs and sausage. Father Basil told him they didn't have such a breakfast here, but gave him $5 to buy it somewhere else. The whole time this conversation was taking place with his homeless man, another man around 30 years of age was standing nearby, listening to every word. As the homeless man walked away, the younger man walked up and confronted us with the question, how could you give money to a junkie? You are not doing him any good by giving him money. Aren't you men of God? I responded by saying that it was not our place to judge anyone, to which he replied in a confrontational manner, he's just going to buy drugs with that money. You don't seem to be very intuitive. I told him I'd worked with the homeless before and that the man was hungry and deserving of our charity. The man said cheers and dismissively walked away. A woman seated at a nearby table called over with the words, good response. She then came over to our table, knelt down beside me, and with tears in her eyes identified herself as a social worker and told us she'd been going through a particularly difficult time and that the interaction she just witnessed had helped her immensely. I then told this woman the story of the time I was walking with an elderly bishop of the Russian church and how I had spotted a filthy homeless man walking towards us. This man's hair was disheveled, filthy with years of dirt, and was wearing torn clothes. He had no shoes on his soles. So with each step you could see his bare feet. Instinctively, I took the elbow of the bishop and attempted to get him to cross in the middle of the street. The bishop asked why, and I said, "Look at the crazy man coming towards us." The bishop told me we were not crossing, but would continue. When directly in front of the man, the bishop stopped, reached out, taking the man's filthy right hand into his own, and placed a $20 bill into the man's hand, covering the bill with the man's left hand. At that moment, the man looked up into our eyes, saying nothing. But looking back were the bluest, clearest eyes I had ever seen. They were not the eyes of a homeless man, nor the eyes of a deranged man, but were the eyes that were filled with wisdom and holiness. As we walked away, I remarked about the man's eyes, to which the bishop responded by saying, "We just encountered an angel unaware, and we were being tested." After the social worker left, a man seated at a nearby table remarked, "That was one of the most remarkable stories I have ever heard. You made my wife cry." This other couple had witnessed the whole of these encounters. A moment later, the young man who judged us so harshly after the original encounter returned. He came up, asked for forgiveness for having judged us. He'd followed the homeless man and witnessed him buying yogurt and fruit with the money we'd given him. I stood up, gave the young man a hug, and we all parted ways.
Well, that's it. And I'm sure you all probably put yourselves in that position or thought about how many times you've encountered similar things. We're tested all the time. We're tested all the time. I know of two in my life where it was a test. I know it was a test. I just don't have enough time to go into them at the question and answer period. If you want, I'll be glad to share one with you. But I failed. I failed on both tests, okay? I wasn't into the faith as much as I am now. That we're talking about 40 years ago. And I've since learned, and I've since changed my habits and things like this. But the problem then was I didn't understand angels, okay? So we're going to talk about angels, and we're going to try and understand them all. They're God's creation. If you read Genesis, the first thing it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and then the earth." Heavens and then the earth. So the heavens were created first. And what are the heavens? The heavens are the angels. These were his first creation. They were created. They're a bodiless spirit, but they each had an element. There was actually 9 divisions of angels, broken down into 3 categories. Okay, and what you're looking at on the screen now is the first category, most dominant of the angels as far as God is concerned, in that they are the ones, the cherubim, the dominions, and the principalities are the angels that are with God at all time. All right, and you see them every Sunday when you go to church. If you're on Zoom like many of us are, or on the YouTube, or as we're watching, we see it. And again, maybe we're not aware that what we're looking at. But when Father comes out with the Bible, with the chalice, with the cup, and walks around the community or around the church, right, and then comes up the center aisle. There are altar boys in front of them, and the choir is chanting the cherubic hymn, the hymn of the cherubim angels. And the altar boys are actually representing those angels, okay? They're carrying the shield. I know it's a rapidium, I believe is the correct term. We used to call them the xapteria. It looks like a shield, a round shield, and it's got, it looks like it has ferns on it if you look at it closely, because originally they were used to keep flies away. All right, that was the purpose. That was done for royalty. Okay, that goes back to the time of the pharaohs. They used to have people, servants, stand alongside of the pharaoh and waving these ferns to keep insects and so forth away. But as the church developed, they became a part of the service. And on them, most of them have actually the Seraphim angel, okay? And why are they there? Cherubic and Seraphim angel. Yeah, well, the next time we go into our church, take a look at the dome, at least in our church, and you'll see, of course, you'll see Christ, but then you'll see the angels surrounding them. And you'll look and you'll see angels with 6 wings. Well, the 6-winged angels are the cherubim and the seraphim. They have 6 wings. They really don't present themselves in bodily forms because they have nothing to do with us. Okay, their position in life, in their life, is to honor God. So wherever God is, the cherubic angels and the seraphim angels and the thrones are there. Generally the thrones. The thrones are really, it's almost exactly what the word means, thrones. But in a figurative sense, that God sits upon the throne. It's a quote from the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, that Christ sits on the throne. And it really means that this angel is the one that supports the element, the aspect of God and Christ and the Holy Trinity and so forth. But the seraphim and the cherubim are always surrounding him, always flying near him. When you come to at the altar to get communion, if you look up over the Last Supper, we have 2 angels. Now they have wings and a little more of a body than normal, but those are the angels. And they're there because God is there in the communion. I mean, the body of God is there. So if you need a prayer, a very strong prayer answer or something, I suggest you don't pray to the cherubim and seraphim and throne because they're busy with God. Okay, it's not really their domain. All right. Now we go down to the next level, the dominions and the virtues and the powers. And I've listed some of the biblical scriptures you can find about them. By the way, there's a very, very good thing that was put out by the St. George Greek Orthodox Church in Greenville, and you can download that, and it's got a whole thing on each department of the angels, and some. It's almost like a recap of what we're going to be, in many aspects we're going to be discussing today. But the dominions of virtues and powers, their job is to administer to the creation. Okay, in other words, they're taking now what's coming down from them through the thrones. Okay. And taking that and operating, our universe, okay, the planets, all aspects of it, as well as our understanding of things, mentally, not physically. They're not into a physical area. They don't communicate with us. They don't talk to us, but they're responsible for a lot of the things that we're involved in. They prepare the way. A good way of looking at it, they're almost like John the Baptist. I mean, they prepare the way for us on the world, and they administer to it and operate it. And we'll talk about this precision that they do with the universe when we talk about the creation. As I mentioned, we'll be talking about the creation the next 4 weeks. And when we get to that part of the creation, and we'll actually talk about it next week when we talk about the proofs of God's existence. But that is their role. Okay, and that's each one has a specific area. So the dominions handle the domain of the faith. The virtues handle the principles of the faith, and the powers handle the strength of it and the protection of it, the protection from the evil one. And we got to remember, at this point, the evil one is still an angel. Okay, so and actually, he falls in, we're talking about Satan, he would fall into this area right here. He's equal to the cherubim. We'll talk about him shortly. The one that we're most familiar with and most prominent with is down here, 3rd level. And that is the principalities, archangels, and angels. And Abbot Trifon just gave you an instance of something that happened to him. and he made the comment, about the angel, that the derelict was actually an angel. There are aspects we know that they do these things through intellect and sometimes through physical presence. Okay, so they're out there among us. All right, and by the time we finish all this, because we're going to go into actual specifics of this, to have an understanding exactly of how they're with us, and what our reactions should be with all of them. So we're going to move on, because we're going to focus right here on this group right down here, actually archangels and angels, because they really connect with us. Okay, archangels are like the generals of all the angels down here. They're in charge of the angels themselves, all the angels, and we know there's a lot of them. All right, there's enough angels up there for one to be assigned to each of us. All right, we're going to talk about that very shortly. The archangels, there aren't as many archangels. We know of 7 of them. 4 are actually mentioned in the Bible, and you know 2 right off the bat, Gabriel and Michael. But you may not know. Let's get down here. Here's a little icon. This is the cherubim and the seraphim angels and the thrones. Okay, the 6-wing angels right here. These are seraphim angels, and this is the thrones. And over here you can see the little cherubic faces of the cherubim angels. All right, the second order is the dominions, and they're in here, in this body here, dominions, virtues, and powers. And now we're down to this part here, the actual archangels. And let's get this up. Can we, let me see, I guess, can we, yeah, oh, we'll go back. Okay. Can we move that, Evelyn? The group over there, if we can move it a little bit. Anyhow, these are the 4 archangels that are mentioned in the Bible. Okay, think Michael, Gabriel, behind the folks there, Saint Raphael and Uriel. Saint Raphael is one that most of you probably have not heard of before, but you're going to remember him after today. He's very, 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 did I say very, very significant in our daily lives. And Uriel is also very prominent in our work. Michael is the one who's the warrior. He's the protector. He's shown slaying the dragon there. That dragon is Satan. And in the years, in the early part of the creation, I said years, at this time there was no time in the world. There was no world at the time, because we're still talking about the heavens. It's the angels were in such an organization, in such a way that with Satan, who was at that time known as Lucifer, he had a great following among the angels there. And he started to feel his power and his presence to the point that it got very dangerous up there, because as I said, he was on equal with the cherubic angels, which is the top level. And that therefore he felt that he was almost as equal as God, and actually felt that he could speak with God directly, one-on-one, on an equal basis. It's at this point that God realized that he could not stay there much longer. Lucifer. Lucifer actually means golden light, bright light, the bearer of brightness, because he was so brilliant. He was probably the most talented one of all the angels of the creation. And all the angels were created, as we were, with free will. So they had a right to make a choice, decisions, and so forth. Okay? And it was this right of choice that chose, Satan, to actually take on the position where he was superior to God. So Michael was charged with, doing battle with Satan, and Lucifer was cast out of heaven. Let's see, I think I got, yeah, here we go. This is Archangel Michael doing battle with Lucifer down here, and he was cast out of heaven. And where did he go? He went right back to where we are right now. He's on earth. His domain, he's the prince of the earth, was put here. and he was put into a, this is, the analogies of how they did this. They said it says in Revelation 7:12, if you want to read up on it, that he was cast into a bottomless pit, and an angel was put in charge to cover him. We don't see a bottomless pit. We don't see an angel in charge, but we do see it in the practices. I'll explain in a second. But it also says that he was bound. Okay. Why was he bound? Why did God have to bound it? What it means is, and it also gives a time. It says he was bound for 1,000 years. That's a general quote. That's a general thing. We say that all the time. It's going to take you 1,000 years to learn how to do this, right? It's just a general statement. It didn't literally mean 1,000 years because, we're talking about a lot more than 1,000 years of history here. But it said that Satan knew that his time was limited, and he was bound for 1,000 years with an angel watching over him. Well, who is this angel watching over him? Well, this angel actually, in going forward, would actually be like the apostles. Okay, after the apostles, it would be Constantine the Great. Now, they didn't know necessarily that they were taking this position, but what were they doing? They were building our church, and God wanted our church to be strong, so that once Satan was unloosed, unbound, that we would be able to stand up against him. Okay, so that's why he was bound, but not stifled. He was bound, but not stifled. He was able, Lucifer, who is now Satan, to do things to affect us. And the way he does things is through intellect. Okay, when you see these movies, the Exorcist and all like that, I don't know about these things, where their heads turn all the way around. We believe that it's through intellect that he affects us with. And he has an incredible power to do this, even bound. And once he's unbound, that's when things are going to get very interesting, okay? And that's when we expect the second coming of Christ at that time. So Lucifer is being slowed down, let's say, while our church builds. And so each one of those, as I mentioned, the apostles, then Constantine the Great, and then the patriarchates and all of these are the guardians of our faith. They're the ones that are trying to develop our faith to the point that we get strong enough in our faith to handle Lucifer whenever he's free to go on. Okay, Gabriel is the angel that we see all the time. You're all familiar with Gabriel. Both Michael and Gabriel are on the iconostasio, right? Gabriel's on the left, Michael's on the right, I believe. It might be the other way around, I'm not sure. But Gabriel's a messenger. Okay, and they're all messengers to a degree. All angels basically are messengers. They message with us. They communicate with us. But Gabriel, is a little more prominent. He goes back to the Old Testament. The angels were all in the Old Testament. This story I just told you is in Revelations, but it dealt in a time for back in the Old Testament. Gabriel, we first see Gabriel with Moses. When Moses was freed, when Pharaoh let him take the Jews and leave, their seclusion, the way they were really captive with the Egyptians, and gave them their freedom. It says there that God sent an angel to guide them and lead them out of Egypt. So it doesn't say it was Gabriel. A lot of the apocryphal writings say it was. But Gabriel, every time we see something like that, where an angel's taking the lead, it's usually Gabriel. Okay, so he's the one that does the significant communicating with us. Like I say, starting with Moses, and we'll see shortly. We'll see something coming up where we see him in the New Testament very often. Okay. Saint Raphael is the important one that, like I said, I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'm still going to hold off on that, okay, until the end here. So we finished talking about this, Lucifer's cast down. We see angels in the Old Testament. Now, this is shown as angels. This is known as the hospitality of Abraham. It's a great icon. There's Abraham down here on the left side, and there's Sarah over there on the right side. And there, this is probably his son. I can't see who that is. They are preparing a meal. Abraham saw three angels walking down, as related in the Old Testament. He saw three angels coming, and he recognized, he was one of God's, at that point, he was the leader of mankind, basically. And God, and so he recognized exactly who they were, and it was the body of the three bodies of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This icon is so interesting. This is the official icon of the Holy Trinity. Okay, in our cathedral in downtown is named after this icon, basically, the Holy Trinity, not the icon, the faith. And it's real interesting. If you look at the hands on these icons, I just find this fascinating. They're all spelling the name of Christ, and Christ is in the middle, and up above, the Father and the Holy Spirit. Okay, and why? Because this is Christ's domain. Okay, so Christ is in charge of these angels here on earth. This is his domain. And if you look at all the icons, if you see their hands in these maneuvers here, they're contorted, the fingers, they are spelling the name of Christ. So we know that that Christ would be very, very supportive of the angels and using them throughout all of the New Testament, and even going to the birth of Christ. Now this one's interesting, and we know what the Bible says. So we're going to go with the story that at the birth of Christ, when the wise men came, they followed a star. Okay, and that's fine. I always preface my next remarks with this comment that God can do anything. So if God wanted a star to move from here to there, which is in this case would have been from Persia, hundreds of miles away, to Bethlehem, he could do that. He can do anything. But as we see the role of Gabriel, a lot of the ancient writings feel that the star was actually the embodiment of Gabriel. And in other words, it was Gabriel in the form of a star. And remember now, the stars are in control. Remember the dominions and the virtues and the powers. Remember that part. Those control the stars and all the elements. So the angels actually control these things. So the Bible says the star came and moved at a certain time so that the wise men could follow them, and then it came over and stopped over a spot. Well, that's kind of indicative of a control of some sorts, of course, and since that was the area of the angels, all right, that there's a lot of belief that it was actually Gabriel doing his part there. We know Gabriel will be involved throughout with Mary. Okay, but now let's just go back a little bit now to the temptation of Christ. Talk a little bit more about the Satan here. I guess you can tell which one's Satan. All right, and Satan at this point, this is right after Christ is baptized by John the Baptist. Satan is saying something to him. Now it says, now when the devil had ended, I've quoted it here, every temptation, he departed from him until an appropriate time. All right, right before that, if you read the book of Luke, it says in there that Satan was saying to him at this point, if you are the Son of God, then take these rocks and make them food, make them bread. And he says several times, if you're the Son of God, I'll give you this. He says that phrase over and over again. And then we read the phrase, now when the devil had ended every temptation, he departed from him until an appropriate time. So he left him for an appropriate time. And we don't see Satan again. We see the devils, okay, massive devils. We see people affected with the devils, but we don't see specifically Satan. until the crucifixion. And if you think on the crucifixion, it's not mentioned anywhere in the New Testament, but it does say that when he's on the cross, when Christ is on the cross, the people were saying and hollering out to him, if you are the Son of God, okay, come down from there. The same words that were recited in Jericho way back then in the wilderness. So Satan does come back, and it says, Luke says he's going to come back later, and he does come back at the crucifixion. So even to the last minute, that Satan was trying to do his work. Okay, so let's move on. This is, okay, somebody's got their mic on. Can you mute it, please? Then we're going to talk a little bit now about an incident, which I just find extremely interesting, and it's one of my favorite. For those of you who've been with me for a couple years now, you've heard this story, but it bears repeating because it's one of the more beautiful stories in the Bible, I think. This is Holy Thursday. Like I say, when I do Easter, this will be part of my presentation then. This is Christ in the garden that's known as Gethsemane. All right, and if you recall from the scriptures, when he goes to, this is right after the Last Supper, he tells the apostles, he stops with the group here and he tells them to wait and watch, and because they're going to come after me, whatever. And they couldn't understand because they were just finishing celebrating the Passover. They're all happy, and they fell asleep. All right, so then he has Peter, James, and John to go deeper into the garden, and that's what we see here. And he asks them again, please keep watch because something's going to happen here, and I want to know when they're coming. They fall asleep as well. So Christ is left with no one at the worst time of his life, his human life here, where everybody has left him basically. All right, they're not paying attention to him. They're sleeping, and he knows what's ahead of him. And this is the city of Jerusalem, of course. The garden is right across the hill. You could see it very well, like they're showing here. And you can see the Roman soldiers coming now to arrest Christ. And he prays, and this is really one of the last elements of emotion from Christ the man, okay? And this is Christ the man, eventually, starting to evolve into Christ the God, but this is Christ the man right now. And Christ the man does not want to go through the crucifixion. He doesn't want to go through the torture and the crucible, all the aspects of the horrible treatments. I want to say humiliation, but the whole thing was just terrible what he was going to go through. So he prays to his Father and he says, Father, please take this cup away from me. And the fathers of our faith tell us that at that point, the angels held their breath. Why? Because the angels know of free will because they were created in free will. And they knew that Christ the man could decide not to go through with this because, he had every aspect of a human being. As you see, the fact that he was in such pain and agony just thinking about what he had to go through. But the Bible says immediately, the next line, not even a comma, right there in this almost the same sentence, not my will, your will. And at that point, okay, God sends down the angel. Here's the angel, sends down to protect him. The angel gives, what was Christ asking for? I mean, think about it. What was he praying for? Really to take the cup away, or was he afraid and did he want some strength? Okay, and God cannot answer all the prayers that we all ask for. He answers all our prayers, but it may not be the way that we want them answered, okay? And here Christ was saying, can you take the cup away from me? God couldn't do that. Even it's his son, and he didn't want to see his son suffer, but he couldn't do this because, he couldn't take the cup away. He had to go through. He had to partake of the cup for our salvation. But he knew that what he was looking for was strength. And he sends the angel down to give him strength. And if you read the next verses, and I hope you do, it's a whole different Christ. You may not even notice it. The soldiers come up. The guys over here with the gospel, the apostles, their disciples at the time, pop up. They're all afraid, but not Christ. He walks up to them, says, "Who do you want?" and they say, we're looking for the Christ. And they actually, Christ says, well, it's me, take me. And the Bible actually says that the soldiers, the Roman legions, actually stepped back because they were afraid of, oh my goodness, this is the man who walks on water. But then Christ said again, with strength and conviction, I ask you again, who are you looking for? And they say the Christ. And he says, I told you, it's me. Take me and leave them alone. So this fortified Christ with the presence of the angels goes through the awful part that he will go through. Okay, this brings us to you and I. We started with you and I in the beginning with a thing from Abbot Trifon. One of the angels, and you remember, let me see, let me just flip back just to remind you, we're talking about Raphael now. I don't know if you noticed, everyone else has something else in their hands. Raphael has a person. Looks like a little boy. It's a person. It's meant to be a person, okay? And Raphael is the head of the guardian angels. The guardian angel is a concept that I doubt that most people, pay much attention to. Even in this icon, what we see is a child. But don't we see an icon with the Virgin Mary holding the infant Jesus? It didn't mean, that Christ is a child. That it's just the significance of her, the mother of the child. And here, these angels are guardians of us. And we all have a guardian angel assigned to us, okay? When Lucifer was cast out, he took 1/3 of all the angels, okay? But that left 2/3 back there with God. And as I said earlier, there's enough angels that there's enough for each person in the world. When we are baptized, there's a canon that's read, and you all know the spot. It's where the priest goes, the very beginning, and goes into the narthex there, and starts reading prayers, and they do an exorcism, but they read a certain line where they ask for the presence of the guardian angel. And at that moment during the baptism, while we're watching this, God assigns an angel to that person. So you all have an angel assigned to you. And what does that mean? That means we can pray to that angel, okay? We can pray to that angel for comfort. We can pray to that angel for guidance, okay? That's what the angels do, all right? And that's the role of the guardian angel, whose commander is Raphael, the archangel. And so this is the icon that the metropolis has of the guardian angel. This one's in blue because it's for men, boys, and there's one that's for women. Now, I know you can't see me yet, but there's another one that's just specifically for women. And let me see here. So do we really have a guardian angel? And so, what do they do? They're there for support. They're there, to give us strength. And so we should attend to them. We should pray to them. There are many prayers for the guardian angel. If you look up later, there's one on the chat in Psalms 91, verse 7 to 13. A lot of people say the church actually uses that verse for funerals, okay? But it says that the angels, will come down and guard us. No arrows or swords will pierce us. And of course, then you can say, well, why do people die? What happens here? There's a certain amount of God's will, and we're going to learn about God's will next week when we talk about God's will and free will and a lot of things like that, and get a better understanding of exactly what that means. But the point is that the guardian angel is there if our belief is there. That's the first thing. One of our favorite words here is the word ask, right from the New Testament. I believe it's in the Old Testament somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe just the New Testament. The A stands for ask, and it will be answered. Seek, yes, and you will find. Knock, K, and the door will be open to you. And it conveniently spells the word ask. So, we have to do those steps. So we have to ask. We have to pray for these things. That's how we ask for things, and that's why in our prayers we should, include a prayer of to the guardian angel, before we end up, I'm going to close with a prayer for the guardian angel. So you won't have to say one tonight, but you're free to say one tonight if you want to. But just as we have done in the readings of the for the COVID virus, the angels, the guardian angel is asked to come down and watch over us. So what I would like to do is, can we go back now, Evelyn, to us, right? I want everybody to see this first, right, before you go make any changes. If you want to read, there's so much more to read on angels. I mean, there's no way I can cover it in an hour. We could do a whole semester on it. But the most wonderful book is the one I've listed on the top there, Holy Angels by Mother Alexandra. Unfortunately, she recently passed away. And it's out by Light and Life Publishing. Light and Life Publishing. It's not a long book, but it's just strictly devoted to angels, the understanding of them, their roles and everything. And every priest and everything reads that book. If you were impressed with anything with Abbot Trifon, I hope you put on your calendar to make sure. I hope you put on your calendar to be here every Wednesday, but I hope you make sure you're available with your laptop on the last week of September, so you can be with Abbot Trifon and listen to his words. And in his book, he does like I say, the app that we were playing is a daily thing. So each day he comes out with a different commentary, and you can buy a book on that he has published, and there it is there. You may want to read some of these things before he comes and joins us, because I guarantee you, if you listen to him, you're going to want to buy the book, okay? Because he's that insightful, and he's just a wonderful representative of our faith. And finally, I just got to do these qualifiers. And I always like to, if anybody has any questions on anything. I'm doing this primarily for those who are watching the recorded version. As you know, that we record everything now, and it will be made available to anybody in the United States, anybody in the world who wants to learn a couple things about angels and all the subjects that we do. And if you have any special topics, we like to do this. A couple people gave us some special topics, and they are included in our semester this year, and they will be part of it. I do want to make sure everybody understands that the illustrations I've used in this presentation are from public domain of Wikipedia, Orthodox Wikipedia, or from my personal photos or property. So with that, can we go back now? Evelyn, are you there?
I'm here. Where do you want to go back to?
Well, I want to see people.
Oh,
And-
you want, okay.
Yeah, question and
Shall I
answer.
turn off the recording
Yes.
now?
So for those who are watching the recording, thank you for joining us. And there's many other recordings that you're more than welcome to watch. Thank you and have a good day.